Good Tuesday afternoon, everybody. Meteorologist Casey Cloud here in the Weather Center with a tornado warning that this has been issued by the National Weather Service in Jacksonville. Trying to jump on really quick. It's been issued in the last 5 minutes or so as we've had a developing circulation here over the East Palatka area. This popped up extremely quick, as I'll see in our storm relative velocity. It's kind of broad in nature right now, but there's still some rotation here. So you want to take shelter. There's still some rotation in this area here as we're looking right here, maybe between Yelvington and Hastings. So just take shelter, but just really quickly on one scan, really showed something right there around East Palatka, and that's why sometimes things are just kind of hard to warn, honestly, because this was at 2:48, and then the warning came out at 2:51 or so, as we still saw some broad rotation right after, but it's just sometimes really hard to get these warnings out in a hurry. Still, there is enough broad rotation. We could have something touching on down, but that was a kind of a scary look on the Doppler there with that circulation trying to pop up around East Palatka. You could see again the bright colors here. We were getting winds here kind of gate to gate in that 70-80 mile an hour range, give or take. So again, just something that's really interesting to see within our radar. You can kind of see a hook as well, getting some overall scenarios to kind of come together, I guess you could say, in terms of this atmospheric parameters to create a dangerous scenario. So let's go ahead and kind of broaden on out here what's going on. Again, a tornado warning now till 3:15 for parts of Putnam and St. Johns County. So you want to go ahead and get inside, of course, and then get away from those windows as you want to maybe even protect yourself from potential flying debris by putting on a bicycle helmet. So again, a tornado warning in here for South Central St. Johns and East Central Putnam until 3:15. At 2:51, where you saw that on the radar there, a circulation there where there's maybe a possible tornado being detected by the Doppler at that point near East Palatka, moving northeast at about 25 miles an hour, and Hastings by about 3:05. Hastings there under this warning, even Spuds too. So go ahead and take shelter here. A possible tornado moving from Putnam into St. Johns County right now. There's still enough rotation where you can't lay your guard down. They might drop this warning early though if it doesn't ramp back up, but there is still some rotation here in this area. So take shelter as we're getting there towards street level map and Keller Road. A possible tornado in this vicinity. Let's take a look at correlation coefficient here. We're kind of looking on back a little bit earlier there as well. I'm going to check on our other mode here, the Doppler, to see what's going on here. To see if maybe we had a quick debris signature on that, because again that popped up extremely quickly. We haven't had a boundary kind of go across here. I wonder if that might be what happened. I haven't had a chance to go into radar to double check that, but something like that happened. It makes me think we might have had a boundary here, try to maybe kind of cause us to stir up, because that'll happen sometimes. So that's something that's kind of concerning though. Nonetheless, it's still broad rotation that's showing up on the radar at this point, so there's still enough for a tornado warning to remain in effect at this moment. Now again, next scan they might just drop it, but at this point we go on over to our radar scope here. We'll go ahead and switch modes, and you'll be able to see how again that really popped up quickly. There's bright colors here, and sometimes the different color tables will show you something a little bit different here. As we look at some of these winds in here, you see not as much right now. 27-16, which is still some gate to gate maybe in there, but not that much overall. So again, we're going to kind of back this one up here. You see 53-66. 19. So when you do the math on that, this color table actually is showing a little bit higher winds than what we were seeing over on other system. So we're talking maybe winds in 80, 90 mile an hour range around East Palatka. I mean, that's before the warning was issued though. And as we kind of go between things, they just dropped the tornado warning. So the latest scans, again, not showing too much. They're still in broad rotation, but again, this was a quick fuse situation. This comes together really quickly in nature. I mean, this was before anything happened in terms of some type of warning. I know they were talking about issuing a thunderstorm warning, but as we go between correlation coefficient here, you see maybe a dropout there. It's possible. I'll be curious to hear if there's been any damage in the East Palatka area this afternoon, because there's a little something there. But you see, as we kind of move on now, we're looking here, and something kind of stowing up in there from time to time. Maybe not anything in terms of a tornado, but again, the tornado warning has been dropped now. So we'll go ahead and take that information. We'll go ahead and take that off the screen. Again, a very quick view situation where unfortunately by the time the tornado warning was issued, the rotation falling apart. Some it was doing a broad rotation. We thought it could re-strengthen, but at this point that did not look like to be the case anymore. Warning was only in play for 9 minutes. Again, the rotation has dissipated in the storm, and they've canceled the warning. So there's still broad rotation in here, but it would seem a little bit on the low likeliness. Let me say that again. The low likeliness, not, I can't say it. Okay, you get the idea here, folks. It's unlikely that we have a tornado at this point, though. It's not very likely. So again, we're going to have one redevelop. So as we're looking toward parts of St. John's, Flagler, Putnam counties here, again, we had a very quick fuse tornado warning where everything kind of came together for just a moment. By the time the warning was issued, even it's just broad in terms of that level of rotation. You see maybe a couple scans there near Lundy. So again, I'm curious to see if we have any damage in that area. Here as we're looking south of State Highway 15, this was there about 244 actually. They were talking about it kind of getting higher up there, but then Roykin, that gate to Gator on East Palatka on that hook there. And then again, by the time we had the tornado warning, severe alert issued, kind of falling apart. It's still broad in nature, still had that potential, but again, it's unlikely, the likeliness level there low of this occurring here in this area. So anything re-emerging that is out of maybe this in terms of tornado development. Even now, the rest of the area is pretty calm overall. I mean, we have some lightning here, some instability, but again, kind of has some winds maybe twisting in there for a few minutes as we go on over. We go on over to other source. You'll be able to see here margin risk still in effect. Mainly though, as we're looking south of Keystone, south of Gainesville at this point, as for 4 or 5 counties here, as we're looking maybe toward Levy, Marion, Putnam, St. John's, and Flagler here, where we have any remaining threat of severe weather. It's just that the nature of things here as we look here between some of our different modes of the Doppler radar. Again, you can see here surface-based cave about 4,000 joules per kilogram. You see our tornado parameter is not even showing up, but again, just the way things hit on that radar, the way it looked, we had a developing tornado situation that looked like there in that area. As we go over to rotation tracker here, you can kind of see what was picked up there by our radar system, where we had maybe something trying to get going in the East Palatka area. So right now, overall rotation is broad in nature, not enough for a tornado warning. We'll walk it back 3 o'clock. There we had a warning. You see some broad rotation. It was still enough to keep that warning, but then we had a little bit trying to stay up there at 254. It wasn't showing up as much, so as you can see before then. Before then, we had the circulation there on East Palatka pretty tight. So there's 246, but then 248, 250, and then the warning at about 251 or so. You see the circulation there, and it's just the nature. Sometimes you'll have this happen. I remember several years ago, maybe about 10 years ago, even down toward Central Florida, had a bunch of tornado warnings during the summertime period there. One day, you just kept getting things to spin on up there, just spin on up, and that can happen really quick though. And by the time things kind of evolve, they kind of fall apart. So got to remain on guard here. There's no tornado watch, no severe thunderstorm watch. Haven't had any other severe thunderstorm warnings in the last little bit. We had that severe thunderstorm warning I posted about earlier toward Putnam. We were kind of watching that, but not really seeing rotation. Again, this was a quick fuse situation. We're at 3:05 now. Meteorologist Casey Cloud continuing coverage for a few more minutes, but again, the circulation fell apart there. The rotation broadened on out, and no longer is a tornado warning in effect, and that's great news, obviously, here for our viewers down toward Putnam and St. John's counties there, even Flagler as well, as we continue to watch this situation. So, about to wrap it up, I think. As you see, the temperature's warmer to the south here, 89 in Ocala, 88 Palm Coast. So there's still some of that energy down there, and we'll have to watch for Central Florida to see how things kind of come together in toward that vicinity. But the storms here up toward north central Florida, moving on down toward areas of Marion County here at this point, and then you see toward the First Coast, Putnam, St. John's, Flagler getting the axe, and we'll go ahead and pop our echo tops on here because we saw this kind of pop on up, and I'll show it to you actually. A little surprised we didn't have a thunderstorm warning issued. I don't think there was enough justification for a tornado warning when this popped up here, but the elevated echo top here really was something that was kind of noteworthy. Even the Weather Service noted it, but it kind of fell apart a little before we had that circulation. A little unusual in some ways here, but we didn't have that much rotation or wind energy necessarily that time because we actually had a hail indicator that was a little stronger before then. So we kind of had the hail indicator, then we had our echo top there kind of showing up in our system here at a pretty similar time actually as we're looking between that. And then as we kind of go up later on, then we have our circulation develop and then the tornado warnings. So we do need to keep watching because sometimes you can get something to reemerge here. That's why we were kind of wanting to be on guard even with that tornado warning in effect a few minutes ago despite the circulation weakening. But we're going to go ahead and zoom back on out now. I do want to also note that a flash flood watch for the Tallahassee area has been dropped. So that's some good news here. That flash flood watch no longer in effect for the Tallahassee area as the conditions there are not as favorable for the excessive rainfall at this point. So that scattered threat here, but the rainfall amounts even in the forecast have gone down a pretty good bit in the latest update. I was just looking at it a little while ago from the Weather Prediction Center. So still that scattered action, that's still an inch or two, but we're not talking maybe about a half a foot now, really, as we've already seen quite a bit of rain. The last 12 hours, I'll pop that on up now. And you'll be able to see off toward Tallahassee. Some areas 3, 4 inches, 5 inches, but luckily Tallahassee kind of missed out on the worst because if they would have fell more in Tallahassee, you might have had to have a flash flood warning. Now there is a flood warning that's remaining in effect as we're looking out toward areas of the Swanee River Valley. As you'll kind of see that a little bit here on our estimates as well. That purple there in toward Union, a lot to last 12 hours. You see the red there toward the west, and that's as we get out toward areas there of Swanee County, 3, 4 inches in that red again, as we talked about. Some areas, orange there, 5 inches or so. So something interesting to see indeed. But now here is our other software. We'll go ahead and bounce between this. I'll take off the radar real quick. You see the screen outline. If you look really close, I'll point it out for you here as I put the mouse on the screen. You can kind of see here. There is a flood warning that remains in effect here for the next little bit, but it's going to go away pretty soon, probably. Here in this area, that rain moving on out of that vicinity, so that's good news. Again, still watching down to the south, make sure nothing else kind of happens here. It's unlikely, as we've been referencing over the last few minutes, that we'll get anything else like that, but it's not completely impossible. Maybe watch for Flagler County, though this accident even there is kind of moving on off, so it might the actual situation might not really be able to come together there until we're watching the accident get over the waters there, the coastal waters. So that'd be some good news. But again, very quick fuse tornado warning. Unusual situation to see something like that pop up that quick here, but that can happen occasionally when you get boundaries. I think that's what happened. Not 100% sure, but just from my history of kind of studying things, sometimes a boundary will hit this and kind of cause things to spin in opposing directions here. And again, you look here at about, this was 241, and then 243, starting to see a little something, but then it really popped out at 248, and then they issue it again as we kind of go further in time. You see how things have broadened on out, though. We're also getting word that the radar there at Eglin Air Force Base back, we were talking about it earlier in our coverage, that the wind mode there, the way the winds are sampled within the atmosphere are a little bit depending on that height here of the radar and the way it hits the echoes. So I know that was kind of hurting us a little earlier, but helping us when we get down closer to the surface so we get a better idea of what type of wind is happening lower down in the atmosphere. But down here in Putnam, only about 4,000 feet up, so definitely might have had something there. I don't have any reports yet. I'll check power outage numbers real quick to see if there's anything in that area. Go ahead and make sure we don't have anything kind of popping up to give us an indication we might have had something. I might also check with the Putnam Emergency Management real quick. Let me see if there's anything on their Facebook, if they do have a Facebook there. and they do have one, so I'll check that and see if there's any word on anything that might have happened down there, because that was a unique signature that kind of gives me a pause in thinking that there might have been something in terms of some type of damage there. And we had a little something in correlation coefficient, but it was hard to say for sure based on what we were just looking at. I'm going to go ahead and check Putnam, though. Checking their information. Don't see anything actually on their Facebook, the one that I went to right here, but I will continue checking for updates. We'll go to the power outage map now. Actually, there are a pretty good amount of outages in St. Johns County. They run that warning too, but this was a situation where things kind of emerged more off toward the west, I think, with that. But St. Johns County, 8,189 customers in the dark. That is a good bit here, folks. Little surprised to see that, and that probably for storminess Roy before that tornado warning and that tornado scenario evolved. I'll have to kind of look into that. None in Flagler, though. Only 2 in Putnam. 0 Clay, 174 in Bradford, 38 in Alachua. You see out toward Madison, 232. So, situation here where St. John's really where the focus of the outages are. So that's something that's worth noting. Now, sometimes it takes a little while for this information to catch up. Also, some of the outages aren't tracked in some spots. St. John's, maybe more of those outages will be tracked in that vicinity. I'm going to see what type of power company we're dealing with there. I'm going to check. And it looks like that's Florida Power and Light. 257 was the update on that. So, Florida Power and Light. 8,800 or 8,189 customers in the dark out of 102,600. So we'll keep our eyes on things. If anything else spins up, we'll be on as quick as we can. Or of course, if there's a thunderstorm warning that's impacting a more populated area, we'll come on. If it's more for a rural area, we'll do what we did earlier for the other part of Putnam County, or another area we were watching towards that Suma earlier on, and then we'll just post about it in Tallahassee areas there toward the west. Not in Tallahassee, that we had a warning this morning, just kind of posted about it. But again, a very quick signature on our Doppler radar prompted that tornado warning. It's just it's surprising to see in some ways, but we had that boundary, and sometimes things can hit that kind of. Seeing that evolve here, you still see a little bit of that wind in opposing directions, but right now nothing too serious. We'll keep you updated here, though. If we need to break back, and we will. I'm getting word now, though, that they are going to issue another special weather statement for parts of Marion, Flagler, and southern St. John's for heavy rain and gusty winds of 40 to 45 miles an hour. So that's something we'll be watching throughout the afternoon down there. We'll watch for any redevelopment to the north, but it's mainly just a situation where we've had some rain kind of cooling things on off. So more down in the ward areas of Putnam, Flagler, St. John's, Marion, where we're watching for anything that could go severe or quickly tornadic like we saw earlier here as we covered that for you from the Weather Center. Thanks so much for trusting me and tuning in. I'm meteorologist Casey Cloud.